Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975. This is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of the regular meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and by providing a copy of the annual notice of the regular meetings for the year 2018 to the Glen paper, the Glen Voice, the Montclair Times, and to the Star Ledger on Wednesday, January 10th, 2018, and by filing said notice in the office of the municipal clerk. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilor Hughes.
Here.
Lusovich.
Here.
Mann.
Here.
Lefkowitz.
Here.
Murphy. Here. Morrow.
Here.
Mayor Patrick's present. Mr. Mayor, you have a forum.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the minutes for our last meeting on March 12, 2018? So moved. Thank you, David. Can I hear a second?
A second.
Great, thank you, Paul. Any comments on the minutes? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilor Hughes.
Aye.
Lusovich.
Aye.
Mann.
Aye.
Lefkowitz.
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays. The motion is carried.
Are there any written communications?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have one correspondence from the Hudson County Board of Chosen Freeholders, a resolution in support of the Hudson Essex Freeway. And that concludes correspondence.
Thank you. This is the time for comments of the public. Does anybody want to vote care to be heard? No? Okay. Seeing no one, we'll move on. I have no comments this evening, so I will pass it on to Councilor Hughes.
I go straight into the budget? Yes. Presentation.
I think we might be in the way.
Oh.
I don't know. I guess not. We're not in the way. Are we in the way? Yeah, I know you can see it, but okay. All right.
Well, welcome everyone. It's that time of year where we go over our budget. We have, this is an annual event. We try to make it a transparent process in that we advertise our budget. It'll go out this week. We'll have this presentation tonight. At the next meeting, maybe not at the next, is it at the next meeting we're going to have a public hearing? And because the students are going to be with us, we won't vote on it at the next meeting. We'll actually have another shot at it the week at the 2 weeks after, right? So then we'll put it up for a vote, and then we'll hopefully adopt it. The goals of the budget are to minimize any increase in operational costs while maintaining our level of service. I mean, we are a service organization, and that's why we're here. We're always looking for further improvements and identifying cost savings, and we're looking to stimulate the growth in the surplus balance. Now, surplus is the difference between the actual tax receipts and the budgeted receipts, and we're typically we're actually collecting at a much higher rate, well, a significantly higher rate in actual receipts over what we budget, and the difference then goes into surplus. And the surplus right now is running at about $1.4 million, which is about 10% of our budget. It's actually a fairly reasonable number. We have unexpected and unbudgeted events that take place periodically. A budgeted one would be the fire contract. We know that the fire contract is more expensive towards the end of the contract. That's the way it was designed. So we have that looming large. But in the past, we've had things like unexpected storms, where we've had higher expenses in removing snow or cleaning up trees or whatnot. And so what the surplus also does is it gives us flexibility. We can mitigate any large swings up or down. What we really want to do for our residents is to have a balanced approach to any kind of increases in tax. So there are two components to our municipal budget. We have the operating and we have the capital. Operating is departments and stated day expenses. The capital is the CapEx budget. CapEx is defined as anything that has a lifespan, expected lifespan longer than 5 years. We organize our budget into two expense categories, salaries and wages and other expenses. And both of those are operating, and then the budget must balance revenues and expenses. We divide it into three sections: general, administrative, and services, including the sewer. We have water and the community pool. These A, B, and C are tax-based expenses and that we collect for. Water and community pool expenses are utilities, and they have sort of a separate cost and revenue structure. And all the costs for those are paid by user fees. It's interesting to note that the pool has never added to the tax base of our community. And water is something that is going to be something we're going to have to address as both a council and as a community here in the near future. The borough is the collector of taxes for the entire community, so we collect for the Board of Ed, the county, as well as for our municipality. And we're on the hook for all of the taxes. So if there is a tax appeal and there is a refund that's granted, the town has to actually pay out of its own revenues the refund portion that goes to the Board of Ed doesn't have to pay. The town pays it. And that's another reason why we want to maintain a certain amount of surplus, because we can't really budget for successful tax appeals. Any questions? I know I'm going pretty quickly. Okay. Here's how we distribute our taxes. The Board of Ed gets the lion's share at 60%. We get the next piece at almost 23%, and the County of Essex takes their 17.14%. The proposed budget is $14.2 million. The reserve for uncollected taxes, $652,000. Of the $14 million budget, $11 million will be raised by taxes. Taxes cover roughly 82% of our budget. The question then is, where do we make up the difference? Well, the mayor plays the lottery, and so we're hoping that he comes in as a winner. If that doesn't happen, we'll have to collect it from a combination of fees that we levy from through things like vital statistics, the construction office, parking, the jitney, the court, etc. We get a certain amount of state aid, which comes to us based on a formula, and then we apply for grants of various types, and we've had a pretty good success rate in getting those grants. Okay, let's talk about the budget. Where do we spend it? I know this is sort of a small screen. Can everybody see it? The governing body is way overpaid. Total personnel cost is zero. Overtime, zero. Pension cost, zero. So it's a big zero. The next is our department heads, supervisory staff, $800,000. Police officers, $3.3 million. There is no direct cost for firefighters. We have that through Montclair. That's our fire contract. The other unions are at $1.7 million. Non-union employees, $600,000. So the total is $6.5 million of the $11 million, of the $14 million, is personnel costs, are roughly 46%, which actually is not bad. For a service organization to have your salaries and benefits coming in under 50%, is a pretty good number. Any questions on that? Mayor?
Yeah, question. You say it's $14 million, but that includes capital expenditures.
Yeah, it's got everything.
So why don't you base your numbers on the collection without capital expenditures, the operating?
Well, CapEx is what, roughly $1 million?
No. Basically, our capital expenses in the budget is about $500,000.
Right.
For debt service is about $700,000.
So it's about $1 million.
$1.2 million, non-operating.
I mean, mean, okay, so your point's well taken, it'll be a little higher, but it's not gonna be significant.
No, for some reason I had 3 million combined, that was the annual.
No, and some of that, well, as you'll see later in the presentation, some of the debt service that we have, particularly for water and sewer with the, from the state, is 0% interest. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Okay, so, pension systems, we wanted to show this because it gets a lot of press, and it is, in this budget, it's gonna be a significant cost driver. We have two systems. We have the PERS, and then we have the PFRS, which is police and fire. We contribute to both funds. Police and fire will be up $89,800, or 15%, and the public employee retirement system's up $50,000. So it's about a $140,000 increase. It's a pretty big increase this year, year over year, and we're roughly 75% funded on our pension obligation, which is a lot better than what the state is looking at. Go ahead.
Is that increase to
It's year over year.
get at a more funding for the pension, or is it just kind of like a cost of business?
Actually, it's formula from the state.
Yeah.
Okay, so is it to get us 100% funded, is that why it keeps ramping up?
Correct, but, yeah, so the municipal has got a citizen pension plan. The IFS, right now, is the PERS, and part of it goes into the municipalities pay, those employees, and this fits the board up. We had holidays for a number of years, so there's a little bit of catch up on the state aid,
There was I think there was 2 holidays under Christie, wasn't there?
It goes through several administrations.
Okay.
It went all the way, over the books, I believe, one of these, the holiday.
But the state holds us to a more conservative and therefore a higher funding rate than they do themselves.
One of the things that helps part of the PERS plan is there's no paid medical benefits after retirement. Some of the other pension plans, they also have health benefits that are paid for, so that helps us from an actuarial basis. The fact that there's the borough gets no of those employment benefits.
On the good news side, there was no increase in our health insurance premiums for the current budget, which is a little bit of an anomaly. Welcome, but nonetheless still an anomaly. And we were able to maintain that cost at 0 without any change in plan design, without any change in copay or deductible. The only thing that changed for our employees was that the prescription administrator changed, but there was no change in copays or deductibles on prescriptions. So it was really a nice surprise, I think. Next year, who knows? But this year, we'll take it. State aid, we were talking about, where does that, we raise $11 million of the $14 million from tax, and then we get other sources of funding, state aid being one of them. State aid has been flat since 2010. It's not fair, but I guess there's not a lot we can do about it. The energy receipts, I think, is probably the most unfair part of it. Communities are supposed to. Years ago, communities got the amount of tax that was on energy that was consumed within the borough, and the state, in its wisdom, decided they would collect that on our behalf, and then we don't get it back. So we only get a portion of it back. So, as you can see, state aid in 2007 was 50%, more than 50% higher than it is in 2010 to 2018, and cost didn't stay the same. This is that same, but in graph form. It shows you the gap. So the formula, I believe, is on top. The actual receipts are on the bottom, and the difference is what I would call the gap. And we're running, let's see, I think we calculated, Mike, I think it's about $430,000, right, that we're short. And if you divide that by 11 million, which is the amount we're collecting for tax, that's about a 4%. And if we did it right, on a $20,000 home assessed value, that's about $800 a year. And I mean, that's real money, $800 a year. That's the gap. Again, you can see the bottom right-hand corner, about a $430,000 gap between the formula, what we should get, and what we actually get in state aid. Okay, what does it all mean? We are going to be within our 2% cap. There's a cap on revenue. We can't raise taxes more than 2% on a year-over-year basis without approval from our residents. We are going to have a cap bank this year, about $158,000, and then we're going to have an expiring cap bank of about $389,000 from the last couple years, which, to my mind, shows that Glen Ridge, we don't say, oh boy, we can raise taxes 2% this year and then rush to raise taxes 2% and then spend it. We've done a very good job of managing our budget to the point where we had the ability to raise taxes over the last couple of years by $389,000, but we did not do it. And on the expenditures, we're allowed to go up by 3.5%. We haven't done that, and as a result, we've created an expenditure bank, which gives us the ability to, raise if we need to for unexpected events. It's unlikely that will happen. We've always carried a cap bank, Mike. Any questions on, this really, I think, this shows that Glen Ridge is doing a good job of managing their budget. The average home assessment, did I say how much is going up? It's about it's on this slide, okay, here we go. So 1.66%, less than 2% allowed. The average home assessment is going to go up by $2,000, roughly, or did go up. The amount of tax is going to go up by $70 on a municipal level. That's not the total amount, don't forget. There's a Board of Ed component and there's a county component. But the amount that we're going to ask our residents to pay for all the services that we provide, whether it's fire or police, sewer, sanitation, all the stuff that we do, it's $70 a year. Pretty reasonable. And this is a chart, and I drew a happy face on the fact that we only spend $70 a year more on.
What implications, like, is that to the reevaluation?
Well, it's in the budget. It's going to take place this year. Yeah. No, we have in the budget a certain amount for this year for expense.
I have to pay for it, but the whole reevaluation and the housing, that'll kind of shape out next year for
That'll take effect in next year's tax.
Right.
Right now, there's a third round of the inspection. We should have the numbers hopefully within another 3 months. And the big thing about this rebound compared to the others, you think your renters can have with your current assessment and current taxes, and with the projected taxes assessment will be based on revaluation. And because it was a special emergency, we were allowed to have a special emergency appropriation because it was court ordered, so we're allowed to pay it over a 5-year period.
Because it was court ordered.
Court ordered, yes.
Right, and it's a good question, and I'd like to take the opportunity to repeat that the tax revaluation really doesn't affect the budget. The budget's independent of that. The revaluation just sets the assessed value of each home, which then determines how much of that budget you pay in your home. Okay, but the budget itself is independent of the reval. So some people typically, when we did it the first time, we figured that a third would see their value go up, a third would see the value go down, and a third would see essentially no change in value. And that's what we saw, I think, Mike, in the last couple of revals. So we're kind of expecting the same kind of result this go-round. Time will tell. This is where the wages and salary are spent. This is not of the total budget, this is just of wages and salary. One of the things I looked at, I said, wait a minute, why is Public Works and Parks and Rec so similar? And actually, if you think about it, what we did was a couple of years ago, there was some question about how we were spending money on our fields, and so we gave Parks and Rec certain responsibilities, people and budget responsibility for field maintenance. So parks, but it's the same group of people. Okay, the people that do Parks and Rec for the most part are the same people that do Public Works. So really, you almost want to put those two together. Otherwise, it looks like Public Works spends the same amount of money as the library, which is not true. Okay, so really it's 10 versus 4. Health is, we're just showing that as part of overhead. So we've got under public safety, for example, that's just this, the operational expenses, not benefits. Okay, we have that broken out separately. So on an operational benefit, on an operational alone, the police department is our largest expense. And you saw that before in the budget. The police is our largest expense. On the debt side, our debt in total is actually quite low. We're allowed to have, as a percent of the 3-year average, 3.5% of our property value. We're running at 0.25%. So there's a substantial amount of debt that we could take on if needed. The total debt of the borough is $8.1 million, of which $4.4 million is for municipal purposes, $700,000 for the pool, and $3 million for upgrades to our water system. It's an old system. It's over 100 years old. We got to spend money on it, and we're going to have to spend more money on it into the future. But we're in very, very good shape on debt.
Steve,
Yeah.
do you have a chart that shows the debt over the last 10 years, the total debt?
I don't.
In other words, how much it's gone up or down?
It really, I don't have the chart, and I'm going to go from memory. But I'll tell you that one of the ways we try to do is as we retire debt, we take on new debt.
Right.
So we're trying to keep a balance and a level so that we can maintain our infrastructure.
Isn't there a ratio in which that the boroughs are mandated not to exceed?
That's that 3%.
Never mind.
Okay, 3.5%.
Got it.
Okay, so we're running at 0.25%. So we're really way below.
Right.
But Mayor Stewart, Mayor Patrick, and I, when he was running finance, we talked about things like what should we be spending in terms of monies to upgrade our facility, and how much debt should we take on. And our feeling is that it's almost like depreciation in a business. You want to at least be spending on a CapEx basis what you're depreciating. Otherwise, you're going to be in a state of disrepair.
Especially at historically low interest rates.
Right. So we have some larger potential debt financing coming up for water and sewer, but as we bring those on, we'll be paying others off. So we're trying to maintain a balance.
Maybe just one question. What are the principal elements of the municipal purposes that you'll include in?
I'm going to have to defer to Mike on that.
Because that goes back to one, the brownfield improvements that we're going to track, and we also include the municipal building, the library, the public works yard, the police department.
Right.
Heating ventilation systems. So that basically has been equipment. The reason I ask that question is because there does not appear to be a single dollar there of operating expenses, which is again.
Right. Well, we don't do that.
I think it's very down.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's called chapter 20 expenses. We could charge a portion of my salary and everybody else's involved in capital programs, as well as a critical list that's back to the capital budget when we keep it all within operating budget. All the other ones are all the improvements to the sewer system are included.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good point. In addition to looking at how much debt we should take on to maintain our infrastructure, we also, as a philosophy, as a council, have believed that we should not bond operating expenses. If we do that, we're just kidding ourselves. We're living above our means. We should either raise taxes to meet the expense, or we should cut the expense, but we shouldn't bond it.
That was a very real discussion in
Yeah.
2008, 2009, when we had no surplus.
Yeah, we did. We went from $1.3 million in surplus, and I think in less than 2 years, we were down below 100,000.
Huh, we had that surplus.
It's a good thing we had the surplus, because as you remember, what happened was, and if I can, housing values dropped significantly very quickly, and the number of tax appeals that were filed, I think, was like 130, John, maybe 135, and I think his record was 0 for 135. We lost virtually everyone, but it wasn't his fault. I mean, those values had dropped significantly. So we did the reval, and after the reval, there were like 8 appeals. So I mean, and then after that, the market turned around and went the other way. So that reduced the number of appeals. But again, we get stuck on appeals for the full value. We don't just have to give back the municipal part. We give back the municipal, the county, and Board of Ed. We have to make them whole. Adds up fast. Okay, so I'm on shared services. We remind you that we have a number of efforts to share services and reduce costs for the municipality. The fire service contract with Montclair is in place through 2022. Over the life of the contract, I think we saved, almost $3 million? Is that the number? And while it is going up, particularly towards the end of the contract, the most that we will pay is still less than what we were paying when we first entered into this contract in 2011. So we really did a nice job of finding some savings there. The rest are smaller, but still important. Okay, 2017, these are the projects that we did last year. We planted 200 trees. We renewed the train station lease, which is important. It wasn't expensive. The mayor was able, he overpaid. It was $1 a year, I think. But we were able to at least get the contract back in place for a 5-year period, and I know we're working to try and get a longer-term lease on that. We resurfaced the pool and replaced the sand filter. That was a big number, $175,000. Central air conditioning for the municipal complex. That's this area here. We only did the design in 2017. On the next slide, you'll see that we have to decide whether or not we want to put formal air conditioning, in here. We did the War Memorial in Ginsburg Plaza. We did expand our online payment system to include taxes, water, parking, dog licenses, rec fees, pool fees, and our goal is to continue that and make any fee that we collect payable through an online portal in 2018. Any questions on that? We did do a few street projects, but if you look at 2018, there's a lot. It's going to be like what PSE&G is doing up in Montclair. We're going to be shutting down a lot of roads, but we're going to be making a lot of improvements, a lot of paved streets. It's a total of about $900,000 in paving in 2018. It's the most we've ever done by far. Now, some of that is catch-up because there was a moratorium when the Transportation Trust Fund ran out of money. So some of that is catch-up, and some of that is an increase in aid that's coming to us because the gas tax was approved out in Trenton, and so this year, I think we got about, 400,000 plus, almost 500,000, which is double what we normally get. Plus, then we had carryover from a couple years ago when we couldn't get anything done. Now, how do we pick the projects? Well, in a couple of ways. The borough maintains a list of streets, and the streets are graded based on their needs, okay? So I think it's is it 3-2-1? I'm sorry? 1 to 4 basis, okay. And so we grade our streets. There's typically, I think, a 10-year. We figure that the street will last about 10 years, depending. Okay. We're doing a better job of paving them. It's a lot more controlled. we got away from, when we used to spray the oil down and put the stones down, which was just a mess. Now we only mill the streets and then repave them. These streets were picked as a combo of what condition they're in, and then we also try to coordinate with other utilities, PSE&G, what they have planned, and what we have our needs in terms of water and sewer. So all that goes in. We don't want to be paving a road that PSE&G is then going to rip up 6 months later. Okay, the water service replacement program. We're looking at about a $2 million investment that we need to make in 2018. But what we're going to do is we'll spread that out over a 2 or 3 year period. On the sewer relining program, we're going to continue that. Once again, that's about another $2 million over a period of years. Of those, that funding from that we will seek to get from the Environmental Trust Fund, at least 50% of which would be at 0% interest, and at most 50% would be at market rate. So you're not exactly sure how much you can get at 0, but at least 50% would be that. Central air conditioning for the municipal complex, budget for that is $225,000. The council's going to have to decide whether they want to go forward with that. The online payment system, we are going to add tennis this year, amongst other things. And we're going to continue planting trees this year. We have to address this emerging issue of the emerald ash borer, which is going to cost us a number of trees. We've been taking them down on a proactive basis. So that's about it. Even with the $2 million for the water service and $2 million with the sewer, over a 5-year period, there will be no net increase in the total amount of debt that we will be carrying at the budget. That's our forecast for right now. And I guess that's about it. Any questions? Okay. Thank you. You want to shut this down, Mike? Last one.
Well, I certainly would like to commend Peter and Michael for a great budget report. It certainly was very easy to understand and follow, and I think it shows that we're in pretty darn good shape.
We have excellent job.
Good job.
Yeah, very nice.
Hey, you all get a raise.
I have only one comment to make, that we vote on whether or not we should proceed with central air during our July or August meetings when we are sweating in here and we can't hear each other because of these wall air conditioners that are behind us. I think that's the appropriate time to vote.
I think July and August.
Well, I think we should do it in July and August, the mean temperature, and then in December and January, and put them together and see what we come out.
Based upon the temperature in this room right now, I thought we had air conditioning.
It's working tonight, the air conditioning.
So Mayor, assuming I have the right agenda, I still have 2 resolutions to put forth. I have resolution, the number, I'm seeing quite right, I've got 56-18.
No, 60-18.
I know, but I'm looking at the one in front of me.
Yeah.
That says, 56 and this, it's got the date of,
Here you go.
hold on.
I got it
That's the
here.
minute.
Right.
I got it.
We're good.
60-18, got it. Be it resolved that the following claims be approved and warrants be drawn for the same, and be it resolved that the Chief Financial Officer, Treasurer, Borough Manager, is hereby authorized to issue the payroll for the employees of the Borough of Glen Ridge for the pay date of April 1, 2018. Mayor, I move the resolution.
You've heard the resolution, is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Paul. Any discussion of the resolution? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilor Hughes,
Aye.
Palovich,
Aye.
Mann,
Aye.
Lefkowitz,
Aye.
Murphy, Morrow.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays, the resolution is approved.
And Mayor, I have, resolution 61-18, be it resolved that the following statements of revenues and appropriations shall constitute the local, municipal, and library budget for the year 2018. And be it further resolved that said budget shall be published in the Glen Ridge paper in the issue of March 22nd, 2018. And the mayor and the borough council does hereby approve the following as the budget for the year 2018. Mayor, this, I gave my presentation, and just a quick highlight, the amount to be, the total amount of general appropriations, $14,294,807.77. And the amount to be raised by taxes is $11,671,314.77. The hearing on the budget, was presented. Copies of the budget are available in the office of Mr. Clerk. And it's also on the website, www.glenridgenj.org. Mayor, I move the resolution.
You've heard the resolution, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dan. Any further discussion on the budget or the resolution? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilor Hughes,
Aye.
Palovich,
Aye.
Mann,
Aye.
Lefkowitz,
Aye.
Murphy, Morrow.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays, the resolution is approved.
And that's all I have tonight, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes.
Aye.
Great report. Councilor Vasovich.
Yes, I'll be much more brief, Mr. Mayor. I have resolution number 62-18, to be resolved that the mayor and Borough Council approve the raffle license application submitted by Linden Avenue Home and School for an on-premise raffle to be held on May 19, 2018. I move the resolution.
I'll second.
Okay.
It's for our school.
There you go.
I have to do it.
You've heard the resolution. Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilor Hughes,
Aye.
Palovich,
Aye.
Mann,
Aye.
Lefkowitz,
Aye.
Murphy, Morrow.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays, resolution is approved.
And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Now, Councilor Mans.
Mr. Mayor, I do not have a report for you tonight.
Thank you. Councilor Lefkowitz.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a report on the activities of Public Works, beginning with the nor'easter last week. So, in the latest, and the last nor'easter of the season, on March 21st, Public Works Department reported for duty as usual at 7 a.m. Snow began falling at 8 a.m., but there was no accumulation until the early afternoon, at which point the salt trucks were sent out to salt all the borough streets and parking lots. 2 grounds crews went out to treat the train station, the commuter walkways, and the municipal complex. In the meantime, crews were instructed to drive through the borough and collect curbside yard waste in cans and bags so they wouldn't be plowed over. The plowing operation started at about 9 p.m. with 4 trucks north, 3 trucks south, and a ground crew clearing the sidewalks and crossing guard stations. There were no major breakdowns or malfunctions of any equipment. We used about 45 tons of salt and 600 pounds of calcium chloride during the storm. As part of the continual cleanup from the various storms, the crews have been picking up down branches roadside and chipping them. Also, they temporarily patched a few potholes. The Shade Tree Commission is finalizing its planting program for the spring of 2018. They anticipate project completion by the end of May. And now that spring is here, DPW will focus on cleaning up our playing fields and parks. Peter, you mentioned road repairs in your presentation, and there's design work that's being done for actually most of those that were mentioned. So the focus is on the south side. Yeah, that's right up. So I don't know if everyone can see the highlights, but the
can't see them until nine.
Green or yellow?
They're yellow.
Okay, they're yellow. So the yellow highlights, it's all on the south end. These are where the design work is moving forward, so that's sort of in clusters. You have Glen Park Road, Victor Avenue, and Summer Avenue, and then Willow Street with Cross Place and Cross Street, Reynolds Road and Chestnut Hill Place, which includes installation of ADA ramps, Astor Place and Mayolas Avenue, then Windsor Place, Appleton Road and Place, and Clark Street. Now, on those last three streets, the paving is supposed to be coordinated with the remediation of lead water supply.
What streets are those?
Could you, say those again?
The Windsor Place, Appleton Road and Place, and Clark Street. So, it's lead water supply.
I'm just happy that it's getting done.
Yeah.
Is
I
that,
didn't realize I'd been consuming leaded water all this time.
yeah, maybe we should,
It explains
communicate
my lack
that,
of
yeah.
self-restraint.
Your beautiful hair.
And that's all I have to report.
Mike, could you fill us in on where we stand on the storm budget?
On the storm budget, yeah, currently, right now, I projected an increase of, we're gonna be doing probably about 45,000 on salaries this year, about 35,000 on other expenses, and.
OT?
Pardon?
OT?
Yeah, what we do is we separate, all the storm OT into one budget item, and I'll give you a comparison from last year.
They really did a nice job. People are coming out to me because they know I'm
Okay.
see them.
For
Watching public works.
For comparison, last year we budgeted 45,000, but only spent 27,000. This year we have 55,000, but this doesn't only cover the snowstorms, but if you have any kind of wind damage to trees, all that overtime would go into the storm clearance rather than the regular public works budget. In other material, last year we budgeted 25, we spent 15,000. This year we're budgeting 35,000. And this also, for the other expenses, was increased not only for material, but for contractual services. We had to bring in new jets to do a lot of tree removal and pruning, emergency pruning over a weekend. And then also we had sidewalk repairs due to the trees being uprooted, which we had to replace. So we have about, out of 35,000, 15,000 to 18,000 is contracted services based on the nor'easter. We're fortunate with salt, though. We have an agreement, which is hard to see on the slide, where the county provides salt to us for leaf removal on county roads. So that's why generally we have a decrease in the past, the other expensive item, but this year we have not so much some of the overtime, but also the contractual expenses.
Mike, I know we mentioned it at the last meeting, but the work of our Shade Tree Commission should really be commended, because with that type of storm, and you travel in our local towns outside of Glen Ridge, you can see how many trees are down.
Yeah.
So the pruning projects and looking at diseased trees and getting them down earlier, it's really proven
Yeah, I
helpful.
think it's kudos to Shade Tree Commission too, because instead of being reactive now, they're proactive. They had the tail split in 5 sections. But basically on the pruning contract, they go through each of the 5 sections each year, plus of course, some any hazardous pruning. So I think the plan that they developed really paid off in the last couple of storms.
You know, it just shows that how you gotta manage a resource, particularly an important one like that. And look at the power of a volunteer group that puts their mind to it, and the great job that they're doing. It costs us $0 to operate that Shade Tree Commission, and yet they've done a fantastic job of managing a resource which is really beyond the ability of the staff that we have. We have to pay people to do that if they want to do it. It's still a great success.
So thanks to you, Peter, because that was your baby, that was born under your.
Well, and the council at the time, and it really it's worked out brilliantly, I think. And I would also commend the job that Public Works has done, throughout these last couple of storms. I mean, we put stuff out on the street, and it was gone that day.
Yeah.
You know, branches that came down, or trees that came down. And they just did a fantastic job. And the email went out, just take it to the street, if it's a private tree, put it out, we'll take care of it, and they did. It was great. You drive around other towns, they still have stuff piled up on the front of their homes.
if it's a snowstorm, it has to exceed the previous maximum snowfall, which is, for us, is 29 inches. But you can receive funding if the county has a certain threshold of damages, and it's called a severe winter storm. So right now, we are working with the Office of Emergency Management, the Essex County Office of Emergency Management. We're putting together all the preliminary damage assessments for each of the 22 municipalities, and if they hit a certain threshold, then we could apply to the state police, to FEMA, for Oakwood, and they can classify this as a severe winter storm, in which case we could recoup funding. Some of this, if that occurs, then we could recoup percentage, probably about 75% of our contractual costs, and then any emergency, like keeping shelters open, or any emergency transport. So, the Essex County Sheriff's Office has taken that initiative, and we should find out probably within a month, whether this storm will qualify. Along with all the other counties, I think, it really hit some of the coastal counties. So those assessments were due last week, and, Public Works, our office, and the police department, we worked on, filing the forms and submitted those, or the damage in the forms. But fortunately, as, Councilor Krasovich has said, compared to other municipalities, our damage was pretty minimal compared to Northeast Verona, West Orange, Montclair, and, West Essex.
They're not gonna combine the storms into one event, is there any
No, each one's a
possibility?
separate event.
Okay, 'cause that might help.
Yeah, correct.
It seems like it was a long month.
Well, we're still recovering from the first one, and then the second one hit, so it's hard to discern some of the damage.
And one long winter. That's what, then go to, Councilman, when it's like, when did the damage occur, when our cost is expended, so. But we did the preliminary assessment, and then there'll be a final assessment, when we make the application, hopefully for, refunds.
Complete? Yes, thank you. Good report. Counselor Murphy.
Still missing. Mr. Mayor, online registration for, 2018 summer day camp, the Glen Ridge Community Pool, and the Glen Ridge Freeman Tennis Courts is now open. People can register online. And this weekend, Mr. Mayor, we have an Easter egg hunt at Carrick Park, which is for kids, pre-K through third grade. And it's, Saturday, March 31st, at 9:00 sharp, again, Carrick Park. And the event is free for all Glen Ridge residents, and we'll have about 500, toy-filled plastic eggs hidden in the park. And in the spirit of sharing, it is recommended no hoarding from the children. Secondly, Mr. Mayor, we have a new singer-songwriter live music series, and, this program is gonna be run at the train station, and, it showcases local musicians in a unique setting, that being the train station. And the first installment in the series is this Saturday, March 31st. And for more, information, you can call Jim Allen at the rec office. And the rec office telephone number is 973-748-2924. And finally, Mr. Mayor, social media and, the Glen Ridge Rec Department has, met with their brand new Facebook page. Jim Allen has, that up, it was up about a week and a half ago, and, we're getting some, positive response from that Facebook page. That's it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Councilor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I would like to first report on, last evening, which was the first scheduled hearing of the site plan applications for the Mountainside Office Building and the expanded parking area. It was held in Montclair. It was a joint session of the Montclair and Glen Ridge, planning boards. It was an open public meeting. It was very well attended. The presentations were made by Mr. Fromhold and Hampshire as sort of the overseer, redeveloper of the, both projects. There are two site plan applications, but because there's overlap by the experts, and presenters, they were both considered at the same time. So while we began with an overview of both applications, we didn't complete the process last night. We did hear from the architect for the office building, from the engineer who covered everything from the buffer around the office building, landscape, fencing, stormwater management. He reviewed the parking plans, the location of the delivery and garbage, pickup on the office building site. There were questions from the public as to following each of the presentations, so I think that was helpful too. There was also a presentation on signage, on valet parking, which is going to be one of the main features of this new office building. It will be available free of charge on that site for, it's definitely daily from 9 to 5. I'm not sure on the weekends though. So the one area we didn't get to is the report from the traffic consultants. The meeting adjourned a little after 11 p.m. And it was decided that it would be continued on Monday, April 23rd at 7:30 p.m. I think the traffic piece will be a major component of the next presentation, as well as there'll be follow-ups. Pretty much everyone who presented has to address a comment that was made by someone on either the public or our planning board. So it will be a process. I'm not even sure if we'll finish in 2 sessions, maybe 3. But again, the next session will also be open to the public, and I think that one will cover the traffic flow, which is going to be important because they are going to be changing traffic flow, the location of certain traffic lights. So I expect that session is going to be lengthy too. And that's it. So that, again, the next session has been has been scheduled for Monday, April 23rd. Same place, the Montclair Fire Station. And that's it on that report. If anyone has any questions, it was a good session, I would say.
How many blended residents were in attendance?
I would say there were a handful. There were 2 that spoke up.
They live,
Yes, yes.
And it's a reduced scope on the
Yes,
building, right?
the
Smaller.
size of the office building itself has been reduced in size from about 65,000 square feet to about 40, 45. So all of the parking for the office building is going to be self-contained on that site, which is good.
Yeah.
And then there are other plans to revise the parking adjacent to the hospital and the emergency room, including expanded valet parking for the emergency room. I mean, I think it's good. The valet management guy, I thought, did a great job in explaining, how successful they've been in using this service. All right, and then all I have next is for first reading, I have ordinance number 1680, which amends the HPC regulations. This is a cleanup change to certain definitions in the ordinance to expressly include roofing materials and the definition of alteration and construction. So I have for first reading, Mr. Mayor, ordinance number 1680, an ordinance to amend chapter 15.
May I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Dan. Is there any discussion among the councilors on this particular ordinance? Seeing none, will clerk please call roll?
Councilor Hughes.
Aye.
DeSalvi.
Aye.
Mann.
Aye.
Lefkowitz.
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays. Ordinance is passed on first reading.
I refer ordinance 1680 to the municipal clerk for the purpose of statutory publication and posting. Councilor Morrow. Councilor Morrow. Anything else?
No, is there any other business or report?
This is the time for the comments of the administrative department heads.
Mayor, have no report tonight.
I have no report, Mayor.
Sir, I have no report.
Okay. I have a motion to adjourn.
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
Is there any new and unfinished business?
No, Mr. Mayor.
This come full circle to comments from the public. Is there anybody like me or please? Seeing none, we'll close this comment.
All right,
Council.
now I have a motion to adjourn, please, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor?
Agreed.
Aye.